Girl bleeds in pain in the middle of the night. She asks her mother for help but she says,
way fiican tahay taas. Waxay muujinaysaa in aad weynaatay waa naag noqotay.
The girl drifted off to sleep as her mother soothed her, but there was no smile on her mother's face. She knew that this meant her daughter would be used as a bargaining chip for rations, to be bought and sold. And so the next day, the girl was taken to meet an old man a match with an old man. Hearing this terrible news, Lily was terrified. She didn't want to accept this inhumane arrangement, so she ran away from the marriage in the night. Inside, her mother heard the commotion, but she didn't come out to stop her. She couldn't fight tradition, but she didn't want her daughter to follow her own path either. Lily walked through the rocky Gobi on foot. The soles of her feet are worn to the bone, but she couldn't stop. After an unknown amount of time, tired, she finally hailed a hitchhiker, thinking she'd been blessed by luck. The unsuspecting young girl almost fell into the clutches of the devil. The driver kept Lily under control. He kept her from shouting. Luckily, it was a quarry truck. Lily reached for a rock nearby and knocked the driver unconscious, and she escaped. She finally finds her way to her grandmother's house for a full meal, but she's clearly not welcome here. Somalia is in turmoil, and Lily's father won't let her go. He couldn't leave Lily behind, even if he cared for her, so he had Lily get a passport to join relatives in Europe. Faced with the unfamiliarity of the world, Lily was alone in London. She was at a loss for words. She became a maid in her relative's home. She has no contact with outsiders. Soon civil war breaks out in Somalia. The old government is overthrown. The relatives were immediately recalled as diplomatic ambassadors. They asked Lily to return home with them, but it was all for naught for Lily. He found his passport, which he had hidden. She sneaks out of the embassy. Unfortunately, she couldn't speak the language. She was unable to find a decent job. It was 6 years of living on the streets. One day he came into a clothing shop. The bright and shiny accessories and clothes. She couldn't help but take a look at them. But a white girl mistook him for a thief, who mistook her for a thief. But the girl only made threats. She didn't really call the police to take her away. Lily decided she was a good person and followed her all the way, and tried to communicate in broken English. When the girl couldn't get rid of Lily, she had no choice but to take her back to her flat. The girl introduced herself as Mary, and explained that she could only stay with Lily for one night. The next morning, the flat, which had been cluttered and untidy, Lily had tidied it up. Mary also realized that this foreign girl with a different skin color wasn't such a bad person. She helped Lily find a job as a restaurant cleaner. Lily had an income, and she officially becomes roommates with Mary, and so begins an amazing friendship between the two girls. And this encounter, Lily's life would become the most important turning point. The most important turning point in Lily's life.
You're not cut? What do you mean? They cut something away from you?
The black girl looked at the white girl incredulously, then lifted her skirt to reveal her hideous wounds. Mary's eyes instantly moistened. It was hard for her in a free country to imagine that there were places in the world where such cruel tradition, and Lily had no idea that being a woman could be more free. At the age of 3, Lily was taken by her mother, taken to a so-called circumciser. The painful ritual was performed. She had been taught to feel inferior and cowardly. By the time she arrived in a big city like London, she became more and more out of place. But with Mary's help, Lily's English improved rapidly, and now she has a regular job. Just as she was getting used to the stability of her life, a chance to make a change. A fat white man in the restaurant. He stares at Lily from time to time. The more she looked, the more she was impressed. She couldn't resist handing Lily her card. He introduced himself as a photographer. He wanted to work with Lily sometime. When he turned around, Lily shoved the card in the trash, not wanting the old man to find out. Lily had to withdraw her hand and put it in her pocket. When Lily didn't reply, the old man came to sit in the restaurant when he had nothing better to do. Lily told Mary about the incident. Mary was shocked to see the card.
Jesus, where'd you get this from? Terry Donaldson. The Terry Donaldson.
Mary encouraged Lily to give it a try. After all, modeling is more lucrative than housekeeping. Lily arrives at the old man's studio. The old man was surprised by her surprise visit.
So you're really interested in being a model?
I am interested in better life.
He did a photo shoot for Lily. He recommended her to the best modeling agency. The agent looked at a girl who didn't know how to wear high heels. Lily's body was not as good as it could be. It was a bit frustrating, but that wasn't a problem. If you have the right hardware, the rest can be made up with a little effort. The modeling job was getting off to a good start. Lily began to enjoy it, and her agent was thinking of moving her from print to runway shows. But before she could do that, Lily had to learn to do the catwalk. She went home and found Mary to help her. Mary knew that Lily was going on to bigger things, and she's genuinely happy for her. The long, narrow corridor became a makeshift stage for the two girls. Lily soon got the hang of it. She's ready to move on to a bigger future. The girl is undergoing a gynecological examination. The doctor sees the girl's condition but is silent.
I can't give you back what's been taken away, but at least I can make sure it won't hurt, okay?
The male doctor and the girl didn't speak the same language, so he asked another colleague to help him translate.
وأنا أسكو حشوتيد نين كان على جركة تسيسا لغن كان أحكم قلن haddii aad bedesho waxaa tahay waxaa siraysaa waalidkaa dadkaaga iyo dhaqankaaga isku xishood wejigaaga ma arki karo hooyada ma ogta waxa samaynaysid.
The male nurse is obviously from the girl's hometown, but when faced with a girl who has been subjected to circumcision, he had no sympathy. Lily wondered why it was her own countrymen who were more malicious than the outsiders. It was her own countrymen who were more malicious. She left the hospital in shame. On the way, she thought back to her childhood, determined to live for herself. He returned to the hospital and underwent surgery, a new life free from the shackles of the past. But that's when another accident happened. The agent came to the flat in a rage. Lily's passport had already expired. Now he was an illegal immigrant. He would soon be deported to Somalia. Neil, who had been working in the flat as a handyman, he suddenly got down on one knee and asked Lily to marry him. He'd been secretly in love with Lily for a long time. Marriage is a quick way to qualify for residency. The lady who owns the flat interrupts the drama. She said she could get a fake passport to help Lily get by, with no disclosure whatsoever, but Lily was detained by customs anyway. It was the agent who paid for bail. Lily was granted a temporary residence permit. The risk of deportation was always on her mind. In order to be free of worry, Lily takes up Neil's offer to be formally married to him, but it wasn't all forgiven, because the authorities would make surprise visits at any time to ensure that the marriage was genuine, and Neil was actually thinking the idea was to make the marriage work.
I'm not a saint. Every night I'm in bed with the most beautiful woman in the world. She won't let me touch her.
When he realized what Lily wanted, Neil chose to let it go too. Lily finally got the permanent residency she'd always wanted, and now she could now go on the international fashion scene. She was able to shine on the international fashion scene. The media began to focus on this black girl. Before she became a famous model, the BBC even made a documentary film about her. By the time she was approached by another journalist, she was already tired of being a shepherdess. Supermodel, she chose to tell the female reporter, telling the story of a more secretive past, the cruel customs of African tribes, and the harm she had suffered. The story of a supermodel. Her story received the attention of the entire community. Lily was also invited to speak at the United Nations as a representative for African women who are suffering from abuse and oppression. A word of justice. In the face of the ravages of age, Lily turned her pain into strength to break free from the shackles. But she did not choose to forget. She spoke up for her fellow man when she became famous. Even the most barren desert will blossom with resilience and beauty.